And welcome back to Music Free Static. I'm having a good day, and I hope you are too. Today, I wanted to talk about The Batman. Yes, this is another really late movie review, and I finally got to see The Batman starring Robert Pattinson. Now, I've been sort of wanting to see this for a while. I'm not the biggest Batman fan in the world, okay? I started watching Batman stuff with like Super Friends back in the 80s and um the reruns of the that old campy Batman TV show, right? And that was fun. Batman was sort of goofy and stuff, but I really liked as I got older. Oh, it was the New Adventures of Batman or Batman the Animated Series is what it was. And you're just like, oh, here's a serious take on Batman where he's serious but still fun. Okay. So that's kind of where my history with Batman goes. And then, of course, I've seen the 1989 Batman movie and all of this stuff, right? And it's weird. The problem I have with Batman is that the everything around him tends to be very dark, which is sort of the point, right? He's the lone hero, I suppose, in a failing city, right? Gotham is awash in corruption and crime, and the only thing stopping it is Batman and a few good cops and a lot of corrupt ones, apparently. Right. And that's been an ongoing thing with Batman. So there's been a lot of good takes on Batman, and honestly, he's been a good character in movies and stuff. So I was kind of excited to see the Batman, but I have a problem with movies that decide to go, we want to be all grim and dark and grim dark at the same time, right? I watch movies to have fun. And this does not look like a quote unquote fun Batman movie. And it wasn't. Okay. I'm not to say it was a bad movie. Okay. It just wasn't a movie that I found to be particularly fun. Okay. But there's some great stuff going on here. Right. Now, one of the things I really liked about it was nice to see them portraying Batman as the world's greatest detective again. Okay. Because that was always the thing. Batman got his start in detective comics, right? He was first and foremost a detective. Yes, the fact that he dressed as a bat scared people, that's that's your typical comic booky goodness, but he was a detective. And that was awesome. But I also really liked the Riddler. Okay. I've been wanting to see Riddler as a serious character in Batman for a while. Okay. I don't entirely know where this came from, this desire, right? As I said, I watched the super campy stuff for years, right? And Riddler was the campiest of the camp. I mean, Joker was loud, obnoxious, right? But Riddler, I don't know, something just drew me to Riddler for whatever reason. And he said, you go back to that 60s show, it's like, oh, yeah, and it's just a riddle with a really stupid answer. What was the one they had in the movie? It was something like, what's lives in a tree and is dangerous or something, and the answer Robin comes up with is a squirrel with a machine gun. Exactly, Robin. And it was just stupid, right? But I don't know, something about the character sort of fascinated me, and I've always wanted to see a more serious take on Riddler. And this did it. The Batman took that character that has always been sort of goofy and sort of, why do you give clues to what your crime is going to be. That just gives the hero a chance to stop you. Now, they took this in a more interesting direction. They took it back into the direction of a serial killer. Okay? Something along the lines of, what was it, the Son of Sam, I think it was, who was it was a serial killer, but sent these notes to the police and all that stuff. In the Batman, the Riddler's riddles were clues that were meant to be broken. Okay, there wasn't a, hey, you'll never catch this, Batman. I will taunt you because you're not smart enough to catch me. It wasn't that. Okay, which was actually kind of good. The riddles were justifications for the killings, right? Because Riddler was targeting corrupt politicians and crooked cops and all of this stuff, right? Which was theoretically a good thing, right? These are people that really need to be removed from power. Okay, one could argue whether or not killing them is the right way to do it, but they needed to be removed from power. And the Riddler figured out how to do so. And, he obviously commits crimes, right? He does murder. And the riddles were great for setting the tone, as it wasn't, hi, I'm going to go kill off John Doe next week. See if you can stop me. Ha ha. No, it was, hey, this was a crooked politician, and that's why I'm killing him. Right? This cop is protecting this stool pigeon, right? This informant. Right? These are the things that you start. It's one thing to protect an informant, but it's to protect a crime boss because he informed on somebody else, right? These are a bunch of different murders, and the riddles fall along that line. But they did something else, is they kind of pushed Batman to do something that the Riddler couldn't do himself. Because in this movie, the Riddler was this really dorky dude, right? Small, not a guy who really had any real power himself, but who wanted to stop this crime boss and couldn't do it himself. So he used these murders to push Batman into doing what he wanted, doing what the Riddler wanted. Okay. And it wasn't a, Batman do this or somebody dies. It was, here's the next step in the chain of corruption. Go there and do something about it until eventually they, gets the mob boss and gets the boss out, where Riddler was able to do something about him, right? It was a really good use of Riddler. Now, you could argue whether or not Batman is actually the world's greatest detective throughout the movie. You always see these sarcastic comments of, oh yes, Batman, was the smartest person in the room, but he didn't actually solve anything, right? Stupid comments like that. It's like, okay, maybe there's a grain of truth in it, but let's enjoy some of the story and what they were telling, okay? But the mystery was good. You don't see a lot of... basically, Batman is not solving the problem with his fists, okay? Yes, there are a couple of times he absolutely gets into fights. Because, it is Batman. But, it starts with him taking down a gang of thugs who are basically doing some version of the knockout game, which is a horrific thing that gangs do on occasion. So he had that, and he wanted to get in to see the Penguin, who actually was an interesting take on Penguin. Penguin was always it was a crime boss and not necessarily a thug, right? And that's what he was here too. He was running a club. The club is dirty, but he's dealing drugs as through the club. But he's not out there blowing up banks or robbing little old ladies and things like that. Okay. It's a slightly different take on crime. And Batman wants to see him and will not take no for an answer and fights his way through the goons so he can have a discussion with Penguin. Okay. So there are a couple of times, yes, Batman does beat the snot out of people. And of course, there's the obligatory end fight with. It wasn't the villain, actually, because Riddler was in prison at this point. Because the story does something that bothers me a little bit. Okay. So, Batman and team, I guess, and Gordon and the rest of the cops, they stop Riddler. He succeeds in killing, was it Falcone, I think, the mob boss. And then they arrest him at a diner where he is eating pie. Okay, great. But at that point, the story's not done. They pull out this, we got the bad guy, but there's still more to the plan that we need to stop. That, I don't know, something about that storyline bothers me. It comes up occasionally in other movies, and it bugs me every time it comes up. Okay, and I don't know why. I don't know what about this really bugs me, but it does. And the idea that, okay, yep, we caught Riddler, but his master plan is still going, and it's still, something else bad is about to happen. And of course it does. So, I don't know. There's something about that just didn't sit right with me. Okay. The other thing that doesn't quite sit right with me is that Batman seems pretty well bulletproof. Literally. Okay. Now, it's one thing if you have something like Superman or modern versions of Wonder Woman who are basically invulnerable to anything. Okay, right? Superman walks into a room, everybody can mag dump on him all day, and Superman is just like, ooh, that tickles. Right, I mean, because that's just who Superman is. Batman is a dude in a bat suit. Okay, now, yes, he does wear armor. I mean, the bat suit is armored. But it's modern body armor, even for the sort of retro-futuristic tech that this seemed to lean into a little bit. Not quite as much as like the animated series, but The Batman was a movie that had sort of a little bit of a retro feel, but also modern technology. It was weird and fun at the same time. But yeah, Batman he took bullets left, right, and center, and just kind of shrugged. There we go. He shrugged them off. He didn't shrug them off. That would have been like throwing a figure skater at them or something. Anyway, look her up, Carrie Strug. Maybe she's a gymnast. Anyway, whatever it was, not what Batman was doing. He was just tanking bullets, right? I mean, heck, he ends up taking a shotgun at, I think it's like 6 feet. A shotgun blast to the chest at 6 feet, and it knocks him over, right? But dude, man, he's taken so many bullets, and it's just one of those things like, really, You have that much body armor that I could take those rounds at that range. Yeah, it just seemed a little rough. Now there are times when I think it's after the first fight. See, Batman at home, he's taken off the bat suit, and you see his back, and it's scarred and bruised, and his hands are bruised, and because he punched people, right? So they're portraying Batman as somebody who gets hurt, but the but the dude was a tank, man. It's like the Terminator walking into the police station, man. Just the unstoppable force, right? I think that was a little. I didn't like that. Okay. Some of the other stuff was fun. Some of the action was okay when I could see it. Because this movie was dark, like literally dark. Even the scenes that took place during the day were dark. It's like, yes, welcome. It's noon. Okay, maybe it's cloudy. Maybe, but even then, it's like it. But it just was dark, and it made it hard to see, right? And I can understand a couple of times where you want darkness to really emphasize some things, right? Because you see those movies where, okay, it's dark, and maybe you get a flashing light, in the flashes of light, you see the monster closing in on somebody. In this case, sometimes the monster is Batman closing in on whatever petty thug he's stalking that night. Okay, yeah, you could do some cool things like that, or I think I talked about it when I did the really late movie review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from back in the 80s. The first fight, it's a completely black screen, and you just hear sound effects, okay? And they do that the first time to emphasize we're ninja, we can't, we strike in the darkness, you can't see us, we're hidden, we're mystery, great. And then the rest of the fights are pretty visible, okay? Sure, they do the, hey, it's night trick so they can hide some of the details, but it was still very easy to see what was going on. Now, fast forward to the Batman, and man, sometimes just too dark to see anything. Okay. Now, I had the advantage of watching it on a computer screen, on a computer monitor, where I was fairly close to the screen, and the monitor brightness was pretty okay. Okay. I can't imagine watching this in a theater or on a TV where your brightness settings aren't quite right. You're just like, so this is what old school radio was like, right? So that bugged me. Okay, but there was good stuff. Like, Robert Pattinson made a great Batman. Okay, I thought his Bruce Wayne was a little emo, but it's Robert Pattinson, so that's kind of what I would expect. But he played a pretty good Batman. The interaction with him and Gordon were great. Heck, him and the entire police department. You can tell most of the cops not particularly thrilled with Batman, but you can tell some were okay. Some with him, I guess they don't like vigilantes, and that's fair. Gordon working with him is like, okay, we can go with this, okay. That was good. I liked that, seeing that relationship. Another thing, it was really subtle, okay. But one of the early scenes, you get the typical, thug gets the snot beat out of him, and he's like, "Who are you?" And then Batman answers in a couple, I was in the 1989 Batman, "I'm Batman," right? Or that comes up very or similarly in other movies. This time, Batman's, "I am vengeance," right? And I think he does that a couple of times. But after that, you get Selina Kyle, Catwoman, who shows up, who was okay. There wasn't, I can't say anything was bad about the portrayal of Selena Kyle. Okay. She was there. They're good. You know. But she refers to him as Vengeance. Because when the thug asks him, who are you? Vengeance. And so she calls him Vengeance. He walks in and talks to Penguin. And they call him Vengeance because that's what he's been telling the low-light thugs that he's been knocking off. In a, I'm not killing you, I'm beating the snot out of you and giving you to the cops sort of way, right? He calls himself Vengeance. And so does everybody else, okay? Which is, it was a cool little detail, right? If you're going to tell your people, who are you? Vengeance. People are going to call you Vengeance. They don't call him Batman. I don't think anybody uses that word to refer to the, Bruce Wayne's alter ego, right? And it was fun. Well, I guess Riddler does, because he has letters addressed to the Batman. But Bats himself doesn't call himself that, as I recall, throughout the entire movie. And most of the people that he talks to, they call him Vengeance, because that's how he introduces himself, right? So it was a fun little detail. I liked it. I really liked Andy Serkis as Alfred. I thought it was a weird choice when I heard the casting all of those years ago when they were talking about it. But he made a pretty good Alfred. And it kind of leaned into it's been more common, I think, in modern comics than it was in back in the older days, where the olden days of the 80s. Yeah, I am that old. Anyway, where Alfred was just a butler, kind of a surrogate father, but something along those lines. That was cool. But here, and I think some of modern Batman comic storytelling, Alfred was ex-special forces of some sort, right? And while he's not out there fighting, he's definitely an actual aid to the detective crime fighting side of Batman. And it was good to see. And I thought Andy Serkis did a great job at it. And honestly, it was just kind of fun to see him. So, yeah, overall, the Batman was good. It's definitely worth seeing. I know there was a lot of stuff that I talked about. I didn't really like. I didn't like how dark it was. I didn't like quite some of the plot details, things like that. But overall, it was sort of a fun movie. I guess I said it wasn't fun at the beginning, and that's true. It wasn't. This isn't a movie you go into to chill, okay? This is a movie you go into because you want drama, suspense, and violence, okay? It's not as dark as something like Seven, okay? Right? I would never recommend that movie to anybody, even though I know a lot of people say it's amazing. Did not like it. Will not be doing another movie review because I don't want to put myself through that again. But it was a good movie, The Batman, and so definitely worth a watch. I'm not sure I'm going to go back and watch it again, but it's, if you want to spend 2.5 hours with superhero suspense and violence, there are worse ways of spending your time. Batman's not is okay. It is okay. And that, I think, is going to do it for me today. Let me know what you thought of the Batman. Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? Drop a comment in the comments here on YouTube, or you can join my Discord. I'm happy to talk about things there too. So, until next time, be excellent to each other. This is Music Free Static, signing off.